Hello, second semester English honor students. So we are discussing Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. In the previous lecture, we completed the second stanza, and today we are going to start the third. In the second stanza, we saw that the poet is earnestly requesting for a variety of wine because he believes that the wine can help him. It may be the only convenience for transporting himself from this painful world to the happy world of the nightingale. So he wishes for a different kind of wine. Now, in this stanza, that is in the third stanza, we would see the poet will be exposing the painful picture of this earth. The poet has a very bad and worse experience of this earth. According to him, this earth is a painful place, so he wants to leave this world unseen, and he wants to be a permanent resident of the happy world of the nightingale. Now, why the earth is a painful one? Why living on this earth has been intolerable for him? That would he discuss in this stanza. This third stanza, I must say, is the exposition of a poet's personal agony, his deep personal or autobiographical note. uh, this has also a direct reference to the untimely tragic death of his brother Tom, that is Thomas Kidd, who died of tuberculosis, premature death. So let me read out the stanza first, and then I will be discussing or explaining line by line. So the third stanza begins in this way. Fade far away, dissolve and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known. The weariness, the fever and the fret. Here, where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despair, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. So this is how the third stanza ends. So in the very first line we see, fade far away, dissolve and quite forget. This line, of course, is a continuation of the previous stanza. In the last line of the second stanza, the poet says, and with thee fade far away into the forest dim. That is, he wants to be lost into the dimness of the forest. And here again he begins, says that fade far away, dissolve and quite forget. The poet wants to fade, he wants to flee from this physical world, from this earth. Fade far away, he wants to go far away, dissolve, he wants to be lost, he wants to be melted. Fade far away, dissolve and quite forget. He wants to forget quietly, completely. He wants to forget entirely what thou among the leaves has never known. What thou, that is what the nightingale, what the bird, what you. Thou is the archaic use of you. What thou, that is what the nightingale, what the bird has never known, what you have never experienced among the leaves. So your world is among the leaves. So in your world there is not the least trace of pain and suffering. So you are so happy. As you can sing such a happy song, you must be unaware of all the sufferings which I am experiencing on this earth. So your world must be a happy one. That is why you are singing such a happy song, right? So you must have never experienced from your world of leaves what I am experiencing on this earth. So he says, I want to forget everything. dissolve and quite forget what thou among the leaves has never known. What you have never known, what the nightingale has never experienced? The weariness, the exhaustion, the tiredness, the fever and the fret. The fever and the fret is the um, exciting desires and the restlessness of life, cares and anxieties and sufferings of life. All these things you are completely unaware of. So you were so happy. I want to be like you. So he says that I want to forget the weariness, the fever, and the fret. Here, that is in this world, where men sit and hear each other groan. Here, people sit to share their groaning experience, their painful experience, experience of their tragedy. So here when we see that whenever the men are discussing, they are discussing their painful experience. So one people is hearing, listening to the painful story of others, and other is listening to the painful story of him. Means no one is free from care, anxieties, sufferings and pains of life. That is why it has been a common scenario that whenever the people are discussing on this earth, they are expressing their painful experience. So we see that one is sitting and listening the painful tragic story of others. So the poet says, here men sit and hear, listens. Here men sit and hear each other groaning, expressing their painful sound. Where palsy shakes a few sad last gray hairs. Where palsy shakes a few. Palsy is paralysis. Where paralysis shakes a number of people is shaken off. A number of people is destroyed by paralysis, by disease, by troubles, by problems. Where palsy shakes a few sad last gray hairs and made them sad and ultimately turned their black hairs into white, made their hairs white. So few people are shaken up, they are destroyed, and a good number of people become very prematurely old. This is because of the pressure of suffering on this earth. Where palsy shakes a few sad last gray hair, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. So young people also suffer. Young people grows pale. The complexion, the glamour of the young people does not last for long. They cannot sustain their youth for a long time. So young people cannot sustain their youth. Where youth where falsy shakes a few sad last gray hair, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. Young people become pale, they become weak, they become sick, and spectre thin and dies. And in course of time, they become thin like spectre, sick like spectre. So spectre is ghost. They become they become lean or weak, frail like the spectre. Where youth grows pale and spectre thin, and ultimately what happens? Ultimately they die. Young people die premature death, as I mentioned. So this line directly indicates the untimely tragic death of his brother Tom, that is Thomas Kidd, who died in 1818 of fatal disease called tuberculosis. So this line directly reveals the painful experience of the poet that he receives at the tragic death of his brother Thomas Kidd. Her youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. Where but to think is to be full of sorrow. So this earth is full of suffering. So whatever you are looking at, whatever you are seeing, that gives you pain. Everything is painful here. Nothing is positive. Nothing is optimistic. So whatever you are seeing, whatever you are receiving, that gives you pain. That is why the painfully, in a frustrated mood, in a mood of depression, the poet says here, but to think is to be full of sorrow. Whatever you think, that thing give you sorrow, give you pain. Here, but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despair. When you want to discover a thing on this earth, what do you discover? You discover despair, you discover hopelessness, you discover frustration of leaden eye. Leaden eye, lead, we know, is a metal, heavy metal. So leaden eye is the heavy eye. Our eyes become heavy out of frustration, out of despair. So as you are frustrated, your eyes will become heavy and they will be as black as lead. So we see the leaden-eyed despair, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, where beauty, that here beauty stands for beautiful woman. Now beauty, of course we know beauty is an abstract idea, right? Beauty. But here it has been attributed the quality of a living being, because the poet says beauty cannot keep. No, beauty don't have the capacity to keep, to sustain, isn't it? A man can keep, a man can sustain. So the quality of a human being is attributed to beauty. That is an abstract idea. So this figure of speech is an example of personification, because beauty is personified here, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes. That is, beauty stands for the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman cannot, they are unable to keep, that is to sustain, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes. Lustrous eyes, that is the brilliant eyes. The beautiful woman, sorry, the beautiful woman cannot sustain the brilliance of their eyes. They are unable to sustain their beauty for a long time. It is because the pain and suffering of this earth that made their beauty lost prematurely. So they lose their beauty before the time. So beauty is, even the beautiful women are not able to keep their beauty, keep the brilliance of their eyes for a long time or for a certain period of time, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. So newly making love, the couple who have been involved in their love affairs very recently or lately, they are not happy with so end of their period of life, they period of love. They are not happy, they are not contented, they are not satisfied with this short period of their life. So they did not get the fulfillment of their love. So they pine, they look for, they long for fulfillment beyond tomorrow, that is in future. They look for fulfillment of their love, of their desire in their future lives. So they are not happy in the short period of their life. So this is how the poet picturize the painful picture of this earth. That is why two kids, this earth is a place of suffering, it is a place of pain and agony. That is why he wants to escape the world and wants to be a resident of the imaginary world of the nightingale, which he believes to be a happy and carefree world. So this is how the third stanza stands. Thank you for watching, and we shall be starting the next stanza in the next video. Thank you.